no, 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 no. Yeah. It's TB on the track again. Baby, tell me what you want from it. Like me, see, I run the street like I'm young Gotti. They really think that they can stop me, but they can't do me nothing. Baby, tell me what you want from it. Like me, see, I run the street like I'm young Gotti. They really think that they can stop me, but they can't do me nothing. Baby, tell me what you want from me. Won't you let me know quickly?
Move back to your mum's house, work all the hours that you need to work, give all your money to your child if you really can't find a job that don't.
And I thought if you don't have money, you can be a dad in other ways, obviously. Like be there for that, take your dad out. If your girlfriend's working, look after the kid while she's at work.
Bro, that's your seed at the end of the day. You need it to flourish, and you can't have it with just a mum telling her views on life, because everybody views different, male and female. And at the end of the day, even she might be bitter towards you as well.
I hear that, but my thing is, I will never stop the father seeing the child or my child. That was the situation. At no point, my dad wasn't there for me in my life, but at no point.
Hello, so on today's episode of He Says, She Says, the topic today is, should dads who aren't financially stable be able to see their children?
What do you think?
Yes, I think yes. Regardless if it's a financial issue or whatever, a child needs social and moral support. It's not all about money. Maybe the father has a situation where he can't afford, but you need to be there for your child. At no point do you stop being a parent. So, yeah.
I feel like you need a mother and father in this situation. Even if, mum and dad, even if you can't be a father there all the time financially and blah, 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 you need to be there as a dad to teach your child to be a man.
See, what I don't agree with though is you can't afford to look after your child. Because if the mother wasn't around and you were the sole provider for that child, you have to find a way to be able to afford to look after that child. So when you don't have the full-time responsibility of looking after a child, you have no excuse. So if it means that you have to work 2 jobs in order to be able to pay for your child, you need to do that. There's no excuses for it. Mothers do it all the time. That's what I find as what annoys me more than anything is when you hear certain guys saying, "No, I can't afford to give more than X amount of money." It's not that you can't afford to; you're choosing not to. That's the way that I see it.
You know, so I agree with you 100% there, yeah. But you know what, yeah. Obviously, I ain't got no kids, by the way. Yeah? But some men, yeah, if they ain't got no money, they don't feel like they're in a position to be there for the child. Does that make sense?
Then pull out my brother.
Pull out my brother. You got to think financially.
It's true.
Look,
be responsible.
I agree with what you're saying. Like, I agree with that. I'm not no dad. I'm not saying be no dad anytime soon. Yeah? But some men, it's like, for example, if they ain't got a certain amount of money, if they're not doing something, if they're not doing really well financially, they want to get their things together first, and then they might try to come back and do the thing. I mean, that's not. I'm not for that.
They had 9 months to
get
their stuff in order.
I think one of the key things is it could also be like a case-by-case situation and age-related. So people can get into making a baby and not be mature enough to do so. They might not even have a job yet. You know, you might have a 17, 16-year-old boy who's become a father and, you know, doesn't know how to deal with it, and then maybe he's still finding himself or building a career, maybe he's studying. So if somebody's at university, how are they going to financially be able to help the child?
In the same way the mother would.
And I think
because there's some sorry to cut you, but there are some mothers who will be going to university, they will be studying, they will be and working full time and raising that child and whatever else. In the same way that a mum can do it, a dad can as well. Not to say that I don't think if you're not financially responsible that you shouldn't be in your child's life, you should, because they do need a father to be there. But in terms of having say as to how that child's raised, I don't know as much. Do you know what I mean?
I don't feel like maybe having your say because you're not actually putting in, but maybe just being there as a dad, as a father, just to nurture and talk to your son.
I disagree with you on that one there. I feel like, you know what I realise? When people have money, everyone's on nuts. Like, when you ain't got money, just no one wants to mess with you. I don't understand that. If a man,
it's not that.
No, let me finish. If a man ain't got no money, and he's trying to be there for for his child in the other ways he should have a say. Why is it because he ain't got money that he has?
You have no excuse to not have
I don't
money. You have a
understand.
child.
I understand what you're saying, but it's like, why does it mean? Why does he not have a say in it? Why does he say less?
Because if you want to take on the responsibility, no, because this is it.
That makes no sense.
There's responsibilities in every aspect. You can't take on the responsibilities that suit you, and you don't take on the other responsibilities as well.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna take on the responsibilities of having a say of how you want to raise your child, then you also need to take on the aspects that you don't necessarily like, which is the financial side of it. There's no excuse for not being able to afford it. There are people who move back to your mum's house. Do you know what I mean? Move back to your mum's house, work all the hours that you need to work, give all your money to your child if you really can't find a job that don't pay you more than £6 an hour or minimum wage. Do you know what I mean? There are means and ways to it. But for me, you can't pick and choose what responsibilities you want to take on just because
it's not picking and
suit you.
choosing. Maybe it's not picking and choosing. What it is your reality, it's your circumstance. At that present time, he's only able to do this. And it doesn't mean he should have less of a say because he ain't got money. What's going to change?
Yeah,
hold on.
let
me finish. So when he gets money now, all of a sudden he's allowed to have something to say. That makes no sense. I don't understand that.
No, what I'm saying is you can't pick and choose your responsibilities. Everyone makes the sacrifices they can. So for example, let's say you've got 1,500, right, or even 1,000. Your rent comes up to a certain amount. You put aside the money that you need to, and then the rest you give it to the, like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's no excuses in regards to that. So long as you're contributing to your child financially, like, or giving them everything that you can, then fair enough, do you know what I mean? But you're doing what is within your means to do so. I'm not saying, obviously, go broke, don't eat, starve yourself.
Well, this is the interesting thing is that you get situations where women will take advantage financially of the father, and they won't be using that money for the child, they'll be using it for themselves. And they almost, because the relationship hasn't worked out, they could use that in, in spite, basically, is to try and get as much as they can out of the father. So it can also swing the other way.
Oh yeah, definitely. But then that's where you need to kind of know the person that you're dealing with. If you know that the person that you're dealing with has always been that person to seek after money before you were in a relationship.
But then we come back to the same thing.
At the same point, he should have a say in how his child's being raised.
Yeah.
He should definitely be a part of his child's life. But that's a different issue, do you know what I mean? Regardless of whatever the money is being used towards, he's still contributing. Do you know what I mean? The woman's bad for doing what she's doing. She should be using that towards her child. But obviously, he can't really say or dictate what's going to be done with the money once it leaves the other side. Do you know what I mean? But at least he's doing his part.
I feel like, whether you have money or not, the dad has to be in the child's life.
Yeah.
But the time when you don't have money, it has to be a season. It can't even be forever. It can't be for a year. It can't be for 2 years. It has to be.
You got to be
6
real.
months. You know what I mean? Planning something like trying to get a job, trying to set up a business. But I
At
feel
the
like
end of the day, don't make the child suffer just because you haven't got the means to give it things. At the end of the day, there's a lot more a child can learn just by you talking to the child, going through, teaching it things that you've been through and stuff like that. That's how you nurture a child to grow. That's your seed at the end of the day. You need it to flourish, and you can't have it with just a mum telling her views on life, because everybody's views different, male and female. And at the end of the day, even she might be a bit bitter towards you as well. And sometimes it reflects onto the children how the mother feels about you. So if you're not around, it's going to have that biased feeling about you from the first place. So you've already come into the situation at a detriment.
But some kids here, not even kids here, so let's say kids go up to 18, 19, and their father's in their lives, but they're not giving them no money. They get angry at them, and they're not happy with them because obviously as a dad,
It depends though, because if they see him, he's out popping bottles, drinking, and he's not putting money for the kids, then they'll be angry. It depends how the dad is. Some dads are like that. You know what I mean? They're like, I'm not paying nothing, and then you just see him out with the boys.
Some dads show up to be seen.
Yeah, you get them seasonal dads that only want to see you on your
Christmas,
birthday, your first day of school, and we put up pictures, but you didn't buy not one shirt, no socks, no book bag, no.
See, this is it. When I say that, I don't think they should have a say. I don't think it's, like you said, it's a seasonal thing, innit? So I don't think if the child or if the father stops contributing for 6 months because he hasn't got a job at the moment, I'm not saying don't allow him to contribute in terms of how the child is raised. not saying that at all, but obviously there's a difference between 6 months and 6 years.
Yeah.
There's a massive difference. So after 6 years, if you still can't back up your ideas to be able to financially contribute to your child, how are you telling me how to raise my child?
It's going to sound crazy, yeah, because guys, I don't believe in this, yeah, but I'm trying to see different perspectives, yeah. But some guys find themselves in 6 years. In 6 years, they realize, oh man, I'm a dad, like, I need to fix up. And it sounds stupid, no, I mean, it sounds stupid to me.
But it's again
in that 6 years, maturity, right? Because it comes to maturity. In that 6 years, he's just trying to find himself. And then he wakes up one day and he's like, oh, I need to pattern up my life. Like,
what kind of self-complaints have they
then what?
But imagine that the father is 16, 17 years old.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How, you know, and how can he even look after himself, let alone somebody else? And again, yes, responsibilities come in. But what do you do in that situation? Maybe he is still studying and he's trying, you know, but he's just not earning enough because he is.
I disagree because sex education was taught in year 6, so I think from year 6, yes, right up to you leave college, you know the pros and cons about sex. So at no point should you be, oh, I didn't plan, no, you knew. Listen, take responsibility. That's my thing. Having sex, there is a possibility a child can be created. Take responsibility. Know who you're lying down with. Period. Mum and dad.
See, I don't take the age things.
That's true.
Tell me I'm a professional.
I smell you, man.
And at the end of the day, the responsibility falls on both of them, mum and dad, as you just said. Because
she should know about it.
She should know better. Yeah,
she's laying down with at the end of the day. If he was a deadbeat then, don't expect him to be an upright, standing man.
Amen.
With a child.
Amen. You knew his pocket.
Yeah.
No, but that's sad. Some people have one night stands or whatever, and they get pregnant through that. Then all that.
But then
you've got to do. You've got to do what you
You've still got a chance to look after.
I'm not anti being a father, guys. Like, I'm for it. I'm just, do you know what I mean? In those circumstances, then what?
You've
got a choice. You have a choice.
Everyone has to be realistic in that situation. And the woman needs to realise that obviously she's had a one night stand. The likelihood of that person is not going to be in that child's life. Do you know what I mean? Likelihood is. But it could be that the person turns around and says, for a minute. But then also the guy needs to realise that he's going to have a child out there if he chooses not to have any contact with that child. That is going to be walking around hating his guts. When it turns the age of 18 and then he tries to make contact or whatever else, that's a bridge that you can't cross back. Do you know what I mean? So everything comes with consequences. So equally, like, if you're going to do that, just know what you're doing. No? You're laying down with...
What you guys are basically saying, just don't have sex then?
No.
Be mindful.
Hey, that's what
you definitely have to know what you're doing, though. But I don't buy the whole age thing, though. I really don't. Because there's 16-year-olds who are still doing their GCSEs. They're too young to have children. But they're doing their GCSEs and they still find a way to make it work. Do you know what I mean? At that age, maybe you might not be able to contribute
I feel like it's a mentality.
as much financially.
Yeah, I guess it's a mentality.
It's a mentality of the individual.
Because they might be 16, but then they've had an absent father in their life. So
Exactly.
you know what? I'm not going to be that absent father in my child's life, so they make it work.
Yeah.
Either way, you can make it work whatever age you are. There is no excuse, but just be mindful of what you're doing because there's responsibilities that have come to path that you didn't realise will come to. Actually, you did because you didn't pull out and you knew you put it in there. You get me?
So they have kids.
Really, you got 9 months to realise what you need to do.
No, anyone have kids?
I haven't got kids.
And I thought if you don't have money, you can be a dad in other ways, obviously. Like be there for your dad, take your dad out. If your girlfriend's working, look after the kids while she's at work. Cook for your girl when she comes back.
If you're not doing nothing, be there.
Yeah, that's really important.
You said cook for your girl when she comes back.
You're a free babysitter.
Be it.
Calm down.
Get your money's
Looking
worth.
after the baby.
Hey,
calm down.
be a good man.
Calm down. Calm down. Look after your child.
I'm not cooking, I'm not cleaning.
You don't need to do the extracurricular activities. It's alright, like, look after your child only.
Don't listen to that.
If you don't want no complaining when she gets home,
Trust
feed
me.
the kid, food for her too.
Innit?
Like I said before, you know, life is hard, isn't it? Yeah, people go through some stuff, and I'm not trying to justify anyone that's not there for their child. I believe every man should be there for the child, but if a man has no money and it's just a season, then it's like he should still definitely be in the child's life regardless. And
but make the effort.
just trying to make the effort and try to make things happen, man. Even if it might sound a bit weird that I'll never do this, but even if the mum gives the dad money, then Like, here, do this for the child, so it looks like it's from him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do that.
It's good for the child.
It's good for the child. It's good for the child.
Yeah.
It's good for the child's sake.
Then also,
I mean, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that personally.
Can I just say, you know the park's free, right?
Books are free. No, they're
Books are free.
Library.
No, it's like
How long are you take child support? Is it not
Save up.
something eventually? How long are you take child support for?
but you university roles now, and you go, I know, generally, yes, the man should be contributing financially, but what if the man is with the child and it's the woman who's
I know plenty of
who's
situations
earning
like
more
that.
money and is able to kind of provide financially, and then the man's kind of the one that is
At home.
at home, he's stay at home. Maybe
Stay at home dad.
maybe he is studying, but he's able to contribute to that child's life in other ways.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's a different issue. Do you know
Yeah,
what
but
I
it's
mean?
a different, it's
But
a
you're-
reversal of that role as
Yeah,
well.
I think that's different because if you're in a relationship in general and you've got one person who is going out to work and you've got another person who's staying at home because childcare is expensive, because it's hella expensive nowadays, then fair enough, that makes sense. Financial isn't necessarily such a big thing when you're in a relationship living in the same household, because essentially
But they
money
might
kind
not
of
be in
flows
a
between.
relationship. It could be that they live separate, but then the man's still able to
be there for the
child and sort of take care of them, where normally a woman would do that in a sort of more of a conventional way, if you get what I mean.
So it's like a role reversal.
Role reversal is what I'm trying to say.
No, you see, the only way that I know that to be the case is when they're living together. Because I don't know very many cases, neither with males that I know that are the main carers, nor with females that I know that are the main carers, that when they
It does
have to go
happen,
out, the father or the mother comes over to look after the child. It tends to be I have to get a sitter because the other person's gone effed off somewhere else and is doing the champagne lifestyle kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
a lot of the times, and if that's the case, then fair enough, if it works, brilliant. And they have that arrangement and it's suited to the both of them, because I'm not able to work right now, so I'm going to look after the child so you don't have to pay for childcare. Do you know what I mean? That can kind of make sense to me. But then seldomly does that happen unless people are in a relationship, from my experience and for what I've seen.
Yeah.
It tends to be the person who's not in the household is doing their thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are
They
a
get
lot
their
of guys,
freedom,
yeah.
don't they? And then they think it's not really their
I
responsibility.
couldn't.
Yeah.
That wouldn't feel right to me morally. If I was a father who wasn't around or with my partner no more, or my ex-partner, or whatever, I would still want to be there for the child. If I was a deadbeat dad that had no money, I would be at the house every single day if I had nothing to do.
Make up
Of
for it.
course.
There's a lot
exactly.
of men that won't, because they're not men, they're boys still, and they just want their freedom or want to chill with my friend that ain't doing nothing as well. So it's just you gotta sort of grow up.
Like what Richie says about mentality. It's about the
And
maturity,
maturity as well, yeah,
Maturity.
exactly.
And that's your seed. That's from you.
Yeah.
But that's why I say
You
some
need
people.
to want to look after that.
But that's why I say some people wake up like 6 years later and they're like, oh my gosh, I am a dad. Like, I'm having a good time. It's not a joke,
What was
it's
they in the
real.
car?
Your whole life, like, it's happened.
Like,
And
Life
then,
comes.
is it too late? Is it too late?
You never
No,
know.
but if that happens there, someone wakes up like 3 years later, let's not say 6, but like 3 years later, they want to pattern up. Is it too late for them to come back in? Or?
do you know what? That's
Maybe
depending
they
on the
didn't
child
care.
What can you
sometimes,
offer?
right?
What can you offer at that time now?
And sometimes,
You're not a father for a week, you know, you're a father forever. Like,
yeah, but then you can't pick and choose when
Yeah.
you're going to be
you're not listening.
But what I'm
You're
saying-
not listening. I said, what if he like wakes up and you realise
But people
that
change.
Again, you
then
can't.
onwards. It's not picking and choosing. It's not like
Of
he's
course
choosing
you are.
one year,
Because you chose for
1 year
3 years
more.
not to be a dad.
No,
And then
he was
it's up to the
not-
child
he
shows
didn't choose for
up.
3 years.
Hello.
No, he didn't choose for 3 years. He was lost in those 3 years, and now he's awake. He's woke.
But you
He's
needed to
aware
find
that
your way
he's
through
aware.
the canoe, innit?
If
You
you
needed
can
to wake
prove-
up.
But reality
You can prove
is
that
not
you've changed.
everyone does.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to
See, and
say.
this is it.
Everyone
There's
has
going to
their own
have
time.
consequences, but there's going to be consequences to that. It could even be from the mum side, or it could even be that, let's say, your child's free, don't know who you are, and doesn't want to spend time with you.
Okay, but
That's
I'm
it.
asking here, would you let him in if that happens 3 years later?
Me personally,
Yeah.
it depends. I can't
So you-
honestly say at that point how I would feel, because my thing would be about my child.
Yeah.
So if I would be very skeptical about letting you back in, because my fear is that you're going to go and F off again.
Amen.
And that's disruptive to the child. So you would have to make sure that you're solid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if it's a thing of like, let's say I'm going to ask you, what can you do time-wise? You tell me 2 times a week. Cool, come over 2 times a week. The moment you fail, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to question your contact again. Because you need to show that child commitment. You haven't been there for 3 years. You can't just come in to come back out again. It's not a revolving door. Do you know what I mean? So if you're coming back in, show that commitment. If you're not going to be able to commit, don't come back in.
So it's a one chance.
But would you rather let the child grow up fatherless, or when he turns 18 is that he or she's like, I want to meet my dad?
But they're going to be like that anyway.
Or would
if
you?
you're coming in and out
at the age of 3 though, they're not going to know much.
No, what I'm saying is,
Wait. So would you rather let the child grow up fatherless? Can I help us say? Or would you get another male figure and put that person there? Like
they're going to have male figures. No, but they're
or-
going to have male figures in the life regardless. I've got a very strong network. Do you know what I mean? So because of my uncles, my brother, my friends, there's a lot of positive males around me. So it's not like my child will ever be lacking.
Okay, fair enough.
But then in the same time, it's not going to ever be the same as it would be a father-child bond.
I hear that, but my thing is, I will never stop the father seeing the child or my child if that was the situation. At no point, my dad wasn't there for me in my life, but at no point did my mum stop him from seeing me. However, he damaged me and damaged the rest of us by the inconsistency. Now that's something that he's got to live with. Now we're getting older, you can't offer me nothing. Just I'm saying, so those are
I hear what you're saying. The reason why I agree with what you're saying is because the fact that a man wants to be in his child's life, that's amazing in this generation. I mean, men don't want to be fathers. So the fact that he wants to come in and even try to be a father, why is he so hostile to that? No.
Because
some men
it's
get
not
more
about
confident
him.
and they're out with that. No, I'm not on it.
No, it's not about
So
him.
the fact that you got a man that wants to be in your child's life, you should not be grateful for that. Obviously,
Grateful?
Let me finish. Wait. Calm down. Obviously, just calm down, please. Obviously, he ain't done a good job. Understand? So you gotta be like, we're too harsh. Like, show a bit of grace, show a bit of mercy to the man. Give him a chance and see if he can do his thing.
No, because you know what, women don't get that round of applause, and they do that day in, day out. There are some women who suffer from postpartum depression, and they still have to raise a child. They don't have that choice. Do you know what I mean? So why is it that we have to go easy on the men because they decide that now, I want to be in my child's life? It's not like that. It's not like that.
I feel like with the argument there, it's like just men and women are just built differently in the sense that a woman can have a child and she's attached to the child and whatnot. But man, it's not really like that.
It's not always like that. Like I said, there's women who suffer from postpartum depression and they still have to raise that child because they have no choice. Do you know what I mean? They get on with it. They deal with that. It's
men
not
almost get that choice as to say, do I want to be or do I not?
And like I said, for me, it's not.
No, but
if a baby comes out of your womb, it's yours. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I can't explain it, man. But
you feel different attachment.
Yeah, it's a different.
But it's wrong, so.
I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that's how it is. That's reality.
I hear what you're saying, but for the dad to want to come back into that child's life, it may be overwhelming. Do you know how to do certain things? Do you know how to be emotional and, you know, give that child morals and stuff? It may be overwhelming, thinking,
because those crucial
I'm not really cut out for this. Then you step out again. It's wrong.
No one becomes a father and they know how to become a father. It's a process. You're always learning. So let me finish. No, but you're saying if he came back, so if he comes back and he's not trained, well, he has to learn eventually.
You had 3 years or 6 years, you just go,
So in that 3 years there, he was on YouTube watching how to be a father. No, he's finding himself as a person.
I'm sure the father's got friends that has kids, or you've got nieces and nephews. You know, it's
not rocket science
to learn. It's not rocket science. I think guys are just being lazy. Take responsibility. I'm getting ignorant.
I'm not opposed to that dad being in the child's life or coming back into it, but you need to make sure that when you're in it, you're in it. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, it's not a revolving door. You don't come in and pick and choose when you want to be a child. Okay, so for this year, I've decided on the full birthday, I'm going to be in the child's life because, you know, I've woken up from my coma. And then what? I'm going to be asleep next year. And then I'm going to be back again the year after. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we're not playing peekaboo here. Like, it's not like, hi.
There's consequences to your choices.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's all about responsibility. From the beginning to the stage where the kid gets there. Be responsible, and that's basically what it is.
Okay, I think it's really important that a man should be in a child's life, even if they have not got they're not there financially for them. I think it should be dealt with on a case-by-case scenario, but ultimately there needs to be responsibility, and they do have to make a conscious choice to support that child financially.
My thoughts on dads not being financially stable. I think that at no point should a mother stop their father from seeing their child. He can also bring social and moral support. My whole thing is at no point you stop being a parent.
That there are other ways of being in your child's life other than just financial, but I don't believe that you not having money is an excuse if you're working. Mothers don't get the choice to be a parent, so I don't believe that fathers should have that choice. I do think that if you are going to be in your child's life, you need to make sure that you're consistent with it. Like, it's not a revolving door, and it can have detrimental effects on your child when they grow up. But yeah, do everything you can, and I don't know, it's a tricky situation.
I do think it's important that the dad is always around the kid, even if they haven't got money. There's other ways that they can support their kid if they don't have money at the time. You know, if the girlfriend or the wife is working, then they can be there to look after the kid. So you know, it'll save you from paying out money to have the kid looked after in a nursery or have a babysitter. So the dad should always be around the kid.
I reckon fathers or dads should be able to see their kids regardless if they have money or not. Reason being, kids need things other than money. They need to be nurtured. They need that talk. They need to learn life lessons from men as well as women. They need to see both sides of the spectrum. To nurture and to grow a seed, you need the water and sunlight. And the water's the mum, the dad's the sunlight, come together, make that child a child, stupid. Make it an adult, whatever.